What's going on, everyone? This video we're looking at the 5-game Christmas Day slate that we have for tomorrow. So I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thank you guys for joining me as we discuss what is the best NBA slate of the season and one of the best DFS slates of the entire year. Christmas Day slates are always a blast, and hopefully this year is no different. Yesterday on the slate, you had Kobe White just absolutely crushed me with 2 of 12 shooting. Couldn't buy a bucket. The Bulls got absolutely pounced, and it didn't help John Collins on the other side, who also started the third quarter fouling like crazy. He played like 18 minutes, I think. That was very disappointing. And then Aldridge also sucked. Hit some pieces right, like Rudy Gobert was very good in low ownership. Had Malcolm Brogdon do really well, but all in all, I needed with a slate where he had some crazy scores. You had Ja Morant go nuts. You had Larry Nance with a triple double. Brandon Ingram with a near triple double. Uh, just couldn't bring myself to fade Luka after all the ownership he was getting, and didn't end up working out. But we move on to Christmas Day, so hopefully this one it's a nice 5-gamer. Like a 2-gamer and a 13-gamer to start are always tricky, but now we have 5 games. We can really dive deep into each game and then kind of just discuss it. So let's get started with the video. As always, appreciate you guys the like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate all the support. You can follow me on Twitter at the DFS Process for updates. And let's get started. So, starting off here, I think we'll go game by game, just discuss the top pieces or the top players that stick out from each game, and then we'll look at a core that we can kind of generate. So, in the first game, you have the Pelicans and Miami Heat. The Heat coming off of a loss, Pelicans coming off of a win. Brandon Ingram went absolutely nuts yesterday at $8,300. He had 24, 9, and 11, and 4 stocks. Shot the ball really well, and we're expecting a big season from Brandon Ingram this year. No Drew Holiday. He goes from being the second option to being the first option. Zion is still there. Lonzo Ball is still there, but I think Zion and Brandon Ingram are going to be the 2 key pieces for this team going forward. Zion only played 30 minutes yesterday, but he should still play probably 30 to 34 going forward. Ingram played 37, so his minutes are not really any sort of question. Against Miami, it's not an easy matchup, but I'm expecting this game to be pretty high scoring. The Pelicans play fast, so it's a pace-up spot for the Heat, and you should expect, I think, this game to be somewhat close. The Pelicans can score. They have some good pieces surrounding Ingram with Zion. They have Lonzo, Eric Bledsoe, good defender, and then the Heat, we know what they can do. They made the finals last season, so expecting a close game between 2 pretty solid teams. I love Brandon Ingram at 8,300. I think with looking at some of the other prices on the slate, he looks like a guy that can drop 50, 55 fantasy points, and you're not paying as much as you are for these other guys, the other superstars. So Ingram is one of my favorite pieces in this game. On the Heat side, I like Bam Adebayo the most at 78, a center here. Only center eligible, so that kind of sucks, but had a huge season last year, got the max contract in the offseason, and they've kind of already committed to him, so he's going to get you pretty good production at 7,800 under 8K. He looks to be my favorite player on the Heat, followed by Butler. But 8,000 for Butler, I don't think I'll get to him just because I'd rather go up to Ingram or go with some of the other guards / forwards in the other games. So first game is really Brandon Ingram for me at 83. It's the piece I want from the Pelican side the most. And then it would be Eric Bledsoe at 56, shooting guard / point guard for the team. Going to handle the ball next to Lonzo at times, and then he's going to play some when Lonzo's on the bench. Point guard. He's just a good defender, too. He can get you some blocks and steals, and going to get you some assists, too. Without playing next to Giannis and Middleton, he was the third option. And this year, you can make a case that at least handling the ball, he's going to be the second option behind Ball. And Ingram is also going to handle the ball a little bit, but expect Bledsoe to have a much better fantasy year than last year just because he wasn't getting very much usage next to Giannis. So it's really, I like Ingram and I like the price tag on Bledsoe. Tyler Hero started the game for the Heat. He struggled shooting a bit. 56, you're going to need him to shoot well because starting next to Butler and Bam, he's not going to get that many rebounds and he's not going to get you a lot of assists. So you're going to need him to shoot the ball well. I think I'll pass at that salary. I'd rather go with Bledsoe. Dragic came off the bench, but he still was decent. It's tough. When they're all healthy, it's tough to pick who's going to go off. And then for value here, you have JJ Redick at 4,400, who kind of caught fire off the bench and played 29 minutes. He's a good value play. There's not that much value on the slate because all these teams are really healthy. So you could look to Reddick at 44 as a decent value play. And that is pretty much it. Maybe Robinson, just because he's going to start and play good minutes. You had Harkless start, but he didn't do much. He's not a usage player, so not a high usage player at all. He's like a very, very low usage player. So first game, it's Ingram, Bledsoe, and Bam Adebayo, the three pieces that I'm looking at. Second game, you had the Warriors get absolutely blown out by the Brooklyn Nets. You had a very, very tough shooting game for the entire team, especially for Wiggins and Kelly Oubre. It's not much better spot in terms of it's a good pace spot, but Milwaukee has a good defense. But I still think that there are some pieces in this game that we'll get to. I like the Buck side a little bit more. They are pretty thin. If you look at the depth chart, they do not have very much depth besides like Augustine is out, so you have Holiday and DiVincenzo as the two ball handlers on the team. Shooting guard, you have like besides DiVincenzo, you have Middleton who plays small forward too, and he started at small forward yesterday. You have Connaughton, and then in the big situation, you have Bobby Portis. You have and then you have Lopez and Wilson doesn't play that much. So yesterday they played their starters pretty heavily, and I think that will be the case moving forward. So I think we can definitely attack some of the pieces on the Milwaukee side, just with some of the injuries. See if Augustine is might return for tomorrow, but we'll see. Uh, you can play or not. It says they're hoping he can be available, so we'll see if he's able to give it a go or not. If not, you kind of can expect a similar rotation from yesterday. If he's in, then you'll see some backup point guard minutes. Well, we take like most of the backup point guard minutes, but I will still assume you'll see DiVincenzo start. So on the Buck side, there is quite a bit of pieces to like. I think Drew Holiday at that salary is one of my favorites at only 7,500. You're getting him kind of just taking the Bledsoe role and take not only just taking that role, but like doing a better job just because he's going to command more usage. He is a very, very good defender, and he's going to be probably tasked with defending Stephen Curry, so he should see very heavy minutes in this one. And he's a good shooter too. Like shoots threes well, he drives, gets you peripheral stats as well. 7,500, similar price tag to Middleton, but I think Holiday just gives you more in those other categories. So I lean to Holiday. Curry is 10-2. That is an expensive. It looks like very expensive, and considering all the other stars on the slate, there is some blowout risk, probably a decent blowout risk in this one. But still, Steph Curry is going to shoot probably 20, 25 times. I think he looks fine, but I don't think he's a core piece for me. Just with Giannis is 10-9 too, I don't think I'll get to him either. I kind of want to, with all these, we have very, very good players on every single game here. So some other guys to look at from this game besides Drew Holiday, I think at least on the Buck side is going to be DiVincenzo, $4,700 started at a shooting guard for them and was pretty solid in his debut, 15, 5, 3, and 2 steals. Played about I think 30 minutes, so $4,700 against a very bad defensive Golden State team. I think you can see him be a viable option as just a cheap guy that you can plug in at both guard and even the utility spot. Then I think that there's nobody that I'm really interested in that's really cheaper than DiVincenzo. Like Pascal, his price tag is almost up $1,000, and he was really bad in that first game. Didn't even start the second half, so we'll see if he even starts this one. Augustine, if he plays, you could take a shot with him as a cheap play, but we'll see if he ends up playing or not. And then on the Warriors side, I don't have a lot of confidence in any of their guys that will get a lot of minutes off the bench. Besides, like Bazemore, you can trust him a little bit, and maybe Toscano Anderson, if he happens to get a surprise start in place of Pascal, he would be interesting. So I'll go ahead and just plug in some of the core pieces that I know I'll have. The first game, I like Ingram a lot. In the second game on the Buck side, I like Drew Holiday, and I like DiVincenzo. And then also on the Pelican side, I think Bledsoe looks good at 56. So I have a lot of interest in the first two games. I think I'll have a lot of interest in this third game too, at least a little bit. You can if you're making a bunch of teams. On this game, you have the Nets and the Celtics in Boston. Kevin Durant is up to 9,400. His price tag went down a little bit from the first game, 98 to 94, whereas Kyrie is still a viable at 89. You have the revenge spot for Kyrie heading back to Boston, although there's nobody in the stands, but still maybe has some revenge on his mind. He's looks fine. Like it's gonna be Durant and Irving just dominating the usage. They have so many guys on the team though that it's tough to trust besides those two who's gonna have a good game. Last time it was Karis LeVert, but his price tag has now jumped to 7,200. I don't feel comfortable paying 7,200 for a guy coming off the bench with how loaded that team is. They also have Dinwiddie, 57. Like you're gonna need him to play well. You're gonna need Harris to shoot the lights out at 53. So I am not that interested in the Nets side besides like Durant, who I like quite a bit at 94, and Irving is 89. But if I had to pick one, it would be Durant. There's a lot more viable pieces on the Boston side. You have Jaylen Brown at 7K. They're viable just because they're pretty affordable, and Kemba Walker is still out. He's going to miss a couple weeks, so you're going to get just a lot of that usage just transitioning to Tatum and Jaylen Brown, mostly. Brown at the 7K had a very good first game. He looks like a solid option that I will have interest in. He can drop you 40, 45, 50 fantasy points at only 7K. So I think he looks like a pretty good play. I like him a little bit more than Tatum just because you're saving some money, and that's going to be pretty crucial on this slate. But it's Brown and Tatum as the two expensive pieces that you should have interest in on the Boston side. And then last game, they started Tristan Thompson and Tice next to each other against a very big Bucks front court. It's still a pretty big Nets front court, so we'll see if they do that again, or if they start Jeff Teague, or if they start like Grant Williams or somebody like that. But you had Jeff Teague come off the bench, and at $4,200, he played very well. He played 25 minutes, came off the bench, and was kind of just doing his thing. They don't have a ball handler really as like a true point guard right now without Kemba, and they have like Pritchard as the rookie point guard, and they have Marcus Smart, but they have just very few ball handlers. And Teague is gonna, be a pretty solid one off the bench. Might even start or has a chance to even close against this Nets team because you could definitely see the Celtics not going with Tice and Thompson both in the game. So $4,200 going to get good minutes. They need some guys to shoot and to make some plays and to handle the ball, and I think Teague fits that bill. So he's a guy that I have interest in at $4,200. And on the Nets side, like I mentioned, there's the two guys at the top, and then it's tough to trust. I don't have interest in really anybody else. Moving on to Dallas and the Lakers. The Lakers coming off of a loss against the Clippers. They looked very bad in the beginning, ended up making a run, but still ended up losing by a pretty heavy margin. You have LeBron twisted his ankle in that game. He said he's good to go, though. At 10K flat, that's a nice price point. Christmas Day for him. The Lakers team just looks so different than it did last year, even though they still have Davis and LeBron now that they brought in Montrezl Harrell. He's a much higher usage player than like the Dwight Howard off the bench that they had last year, and like McGee starting at center. And they have Dennis Schroeder, so he's another guy that's gonna handle the ball, get rebounds, get assists. So just two other usage players that they didn't have last season. So I want to kind of see how they do in this one. It's a easier matchup for them, very much easier matchup defensively against the Dallas team. So if I had to pick between Davis and LeBron, it would be Davis at 10-3. I think you can really do some work against this Mavs front court. And then Luka on the other side, 10-7. It's a tough spot. The Lakers, very good defense, one of the best defenses last season. I'll probably pass on that price tag just because I would rather just kind of go with some of these guys in the 7-8K range, like Holiday, Ingram. I like Jaylen Brown. I like on the Boston side. So in this game, I have most interest in the in some of these cheaper options, like below 6K. You can take a shot on Dorian Finney-Smith. He's only $4,800, starting power forward, no Porzingis for a bit, so he's going to get a lot of playing time. And he played well in the first game. He's a guy that's just kind of a 3 and D guy. He can get you rebounds too, with no Porzingis. So he's a guy that I like. And you can maybe take a shot and punt with a Maxi Kleber at 35, or punt with like a Trey Burke at 32. Probably won't get to Hardaway or Richardson really. And in the final game, we have the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets coming off of an overtime loss. Buddy Hield with that tip in at the buzzer. They played their starters very heavily, obviously went into overtime, so Jokic coming off of a 42-minute performance where he put up 29, 15, 14, and 3, picking up right where he left off from the bubble. He is only 10-1 against a small Clippers front court. He's going to be going up against, they might start Zubac in this one because Jokic has a big advantage over Serge Ibaka height-wise, but at least a couple inches. I think Ibaka's like 6'10". But Jokic, I think, can have success against this front court for the Clippers. And then on the other side, you have Paul George up to 87 and Kawhi at 98. I think they're kind of tough to get to on this one. Definitely Paul George at 87. I think he looked very good in that first game, but I don't think I feel comfortable with that salary. If I was playing anybody in this game, it would be try to take a shot on some of these cheaper options, like maybe a Porter at 67. He looks decent. Maybe take a shot on Paul Millsap at 49, or maybe take a shot on like a Batum started and played fine, but I don't never feel good about playing him, so I'll probably pass on him again. But I really have most of my interest in like the first 3 games of this on the Christmas Day slate. The last 2, I think there's just so many viable and so many expensive plays that I think there's better. At least for me, it looks better to target some of these guys in the first like 3. Uh, so looking at plug in one more guy for you, I think that would be probably be Jaylen Brown on the net side at 7,000. Just expect him to just shoot a bunch without Kemba and expect him to get good rebounds, assists, handle the ball a little bit. And plugging in all these guys, you still leaves you at 6,350. So you still have plenty to work with. Pay out for another guy in the 8K range, like if you wanted to play Durant, you can do that and go with a cheap punt play. You can maybe let's look at center. Who looks good at center? Maybe play like Bam, and then play whoever looks good at 49. Center-wise, my favorite plays are Jokic if you can get up to him at 10-1. If you can't, then go with like you can take a shot on Tristan Thompson at 52, or you can go super cheap and punt with a Kleber at 35 if you need a punt value play, or take a shot on Steven Adams at 59. I like him just because going to get minutes, especially against the Heat and against Bam Adebayo. So that's kind of it for the DraftKings Christmas Day breakdown. I think these are the 6 pieces that I really like heading into it. I'll let you guys know if things change on Twitter. It's at the DFS process if you guys want to follow me there. Let's jump over to Fanduel. I'll touch on my pieces that I like. All right, looking at Fanduel here, point guard wise, just a completely different story. Like Steph Curry is 8,700 compared to 10-2 on DraftKings. That is just ridiculous how big of a gap that is. And then you have Luka at 11-3. I much prefer going with Curry or Irving. Curry is my favorite at 87. That's just too cheap for him. I love Drew Holiday at 7,000. You can punt with, not really a punt, but maybe take a shot on Jeff Teague at 58. Or there's nobody I would really punt with at point guard. I would probably try to get up to the guys above 7K. But Curry is definitely the best option. Shooting guard, Paul George looks great at 76 compared to like 87 on DraftKings. You have Butler you can play. I love the price tag on Bledsoe at 56. FanDuel, you get at those extra points for blocks and steals. Gonna play good minutes. I think it's another probably in line for another decent game. Also have Dennis Schroeder at $5,000, who looks to be like a pretty good play on the Lakers side on FanDuel at that price tag. So I like him. Maybe take a shot on DiVincenzo. So I'll probably go with Schroeder instead. I think Schroeder, DiVincenzo, and Bledsoe and Paul George are the 4 that I like the most at this position. Small forward, you have LeBron at 11 and Kawhi at 95. I'd rather go to Kawhi. If you don't want to play Kawhi Leonard, you still have lots of other options. You can play Michael Porter at only 5,400. That price tag is pretty crazy. You can play Brandon Ingram at 73. You can play Jaylen Brown at 75. You can play Tyler Hero at 5K, somehow small forward on FanDuel. So you got a lot of options here. I think Brandon Ingram 76, I would take a shot on, or 73, I'd take a shot on him again. Power forward, we have Durant. Price tag didn't move in the first game, which is pretty crazy. It's $8,500. Makes no sense. He's the best option for me at power forward. Point per dollar wise, and it'll probably end up as like the top 3 scorer at this position. Then Zion looks okay, definitely not playing Kleber or Pascal or like anybody else. And moving on to center, last position, you have this is where you're going to make a decision if you're going to pay up or pay down. If you're paying up, it's Jokic, obviously the best option, followed by Bam Adebayo. If you're paying down, it's Steven Adams. I like a lot at 55. It's Tristan Thompson at 46. If he starts, that looks pretty good against Brooklyn. You can play DeAndre Jordan on the other side at 45, or you can punt with the James Wiseman at 42. He's like 6K on DraftKings, so I have no interest there. I think I might go cheap here just because I could see Tristan Thompson, putting up 30 fantasy points if he starts. Hopefully, he doesn't start alongside Tice because that'll just take some of his rebounds away. Or I could definitely see if Tice happens to start, he could take a shot with him. But I think Wiseman at 42, just really cheap. I know he got like 9 or 10 Fanduel points in the last few minutes in the last game in garbage time, but he only still played 24 minutes. It wasn't like he played 35 and ended up with 31 fantasy points. Like they said he was going to play short spurts in that first game because he didn't play in the preseason and he was very banged up last year in college. Ended up playing like 4-minute spurts or something like that, and I could see his production go up, or his minutes go up in this second game, maybe get up to like 26 to 28 minutes, and the price tag went down. So 4,200. It's not the easiest spot against Milwaukee. Hopefully, he doesn't foul Giannis, or at least doesn't get into foul trouble against Giannis. But shouldn't be defending him. Should be defending Brook Lopez. So not too worried about that. So I think these 5 pieces on FanDuel are probably the ways that I'm gonna approach it. If you wanted to try to get up to Jokic, you can, but you're probably gonna have to. Definitely not gonna be able to play all these other guys. So that's it for the Christmas Day slate. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you drop a like. I really appreciate all the support, and best of luck.